Cool. How you doing, guys? Time for another wee Motiv8 Zoom chat. And today we're going to try and focus a little bit on something I've touched on already, which is to do with macronutrients. And what we're trying to do is try to dispel some of the common myths and common problems that we see, and then try and make it better from there for you guys, with a clear understanding. And we can use this format to really explain what we mean a bit better. I think sometimes things get a bit lost in translation with the short videos we're doing. So this is going to really help you guys hopefully understand a little bit about kind of common problems in the eating side of things. MC, one of the big things we always see is like stuff to do with carbs, and people kind of fear of eating it. So like no carbs before carbs and that type of thing. So we just kind of like to get into your mindset about what you think and common myths that you encounter with this kind of attitude.
Yeah, definitely. That's quite a popular one these days, the whole no carbs thing. People bang on about it all the time, and I think it's one of the ways that it's going to help them lose body fat, is if they cut out carbs, where carbs are probably one of your body's main energy sources that you use, so it's important to get them in. But yeah, I get it all the time, especially with my clients. They come to me and they're like, yeah, I've tried this, tried that, I've tried not having carbs to help them losing it, and they often say it doesn't work, they feel rubbish. I don't know what you have with that situation as well. Your clients come up to you and asking you that question as well.
The interesting one on that is, and I get it, a lot more with females, I think, is a lot of them seem to be scared of eating bread. Do any of you guys have with clients like it's like, yeah. I'm like, honestly, like, I say to them, like you said, like MC just touched on, it's a massive energy source. Gives you the energy you need to expend. So I sort of say to them, if you're not giving your body the right tools to then be able to exercise and sort of burn those calories or tone up your body in that right way, if you're not giving your body that, then you're not going to be able to have that output to enable you to hit your goal. So it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, exactly. So if people want to train harder, they're probably going to need a little bit of fuel to do it. And I think the most common thing I get is this kind of fear of carbs and bloating and sort of usual problems that you might encounter with it. And obviously they hear all the chat about sugar and about eating fruit and all these things that I think are a little bit like jaded from what reality is. I think like earlier, like carbs are like one of the main energy sources and fuel for your brain. And, just cutting them all out altogether is almost like a kind of easy way for them to control their calories, which is actually the real problem.
Like you say there, it's a fuel source. So cutting out a fuel source kind of just sounds a bit detrimental, doesn't it? Like, and it's one of your body's main sources, and it's one of the easiest ones to break down. So you've got obviously your carbs and your fats. Your body uses carbs more. So by cutting that out, it just kind of seems really backwards. Do
you think it's all to do with the sort of holiday body idea? Because you see this like carbs before carbs. It's always, this is the thing. So all year round, they're all finding carbs, and then it gets to summer, and they're all like, "Oh no, I have to cut my carbs out." And it's like a sort of desperate way of changing.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think sometimes if we could sit down with people and just sort of have a sort of brief chat with them and give them a bit of an education of, right, guys, this is how carbs work, this is how your fats work, this is how your proteins work, I think they would look at the picture a lot differently. Because I think, especially with, again, I sort of say it's more with women that I've came across, or female clients that I've had, is they seem to be a bit sort of anxious to start counting calories or tracking. As soon as you mention the word macros, you start talking about carbs, proteins, fats. They some of them run a mile. You get all anxious and stuff. I think if you, instead of being anxious about counting calories and tracking your macros, and you actually use that as a weapon to get to where you want to be, just a bit of education, I think that would massively help. And it was, again, it's not complicated. It's quite simple when you do break it down.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there with that, like, as in when you say it's a bit of education, because what happens is you've got these celebrities, no carbs, no carbs, and all they do is just see that and go, that's the way to do it. Whereas these celebrities don't really say what they've done to do that. You know what I mean? It's just, they've just done this, and it's worked for them. maybe some of them it has worked for, but they don't know the full story. All they've seen is no carbs, and then they think that's going to work for them. So you're right in saying you've got to kind of educate them on that, and like, what are carbs? It's an energy source. What do carbs contain? They contain calories that you use for energy. And with carbs comes the whole water retention, because it gets stored in the muscles and stuff like that. So this is the kind of thing people need to be aware of when they're cutting out.
And also, like, you've got to bear in mind that the benefits of having some water retention in your muscles, and carbohydrates store more importantly in your muscles. You know, having that as fuel can make you train a lot harder. And when you're training and you're working in resistance training and building muscle, you tend to like trace a pump or a feeling of like blood flow in your muscles, and having carbs in your diet makes that so much more attainable, and you get a much better feeling from your training.
Not gonna lie, all the kind of best foods do have carbs in them. So I don't know why you want to cut that out. Just like Gus was saying with bread. Like, I love bread. Bread's great. You can have it with so many things.
You know, as well as two things I wanted to touch on. One you just mentioned, MC, is if people do start cutting out their carbs, they end up, it's not going to be sustainable. They start becoming unhappy. Like you just said, you love bread. You love having it. Imagine I said to you, right, for the next month, MC, you're not allowed, you can't have any toast. You're not having any, or you can't have a baguette. You know, it's like, it comes down to happiness as well. And if you aren't happy with what you're trying to do, it's not going to be sustainable. And that's where you see so many people fall off the track that they're on, because simply they're trying something that they're just not happy with. And in that case, they're never going to manage to keep going.
I will say, obviously, there are unique situations where cutting carbs might be in your interest, medical reasons and things like this. But for the most part, I think you nailed it the very first thing you said, Gus, about tracking. I think if people look at their balance of what they're eating and try to attempt to get a bit more of a balance in their diet, it will feel a lot better. Because I think you can overindulge in anything, right? So it's just about finding that moderation that works for you. On that note, one thing I see all the time conflicting is protein balance and how much people have. You get a lot of this in the gym. The whole trainer like, get that protein down you. There is certainly a lot of myths circulating how much protein you should actually eat. And I think too much and too little is something that we see quite a lot in Motiv8 as well. Do you want to add anything to that, guys? Do you think you see a lot of them too?
Definitely. Again, it comes down to that education, understanding what protein is about, because you do see it a lot. You see it everywhere in the shops now. Everything's protein packed, isn't it? And you're just like, yeah, protein's good for us. I know that much, so I'll get it in.
It does catch your eye. You know, think like you're saying, mate. Sorry, like protein yogurts. Like, do you know what caught my eye the other day? It's funny you say that, because it catches my eye as a PT, and I bet it catches lots of other people's eyes. Is, you know, the Alpen bars, right? Alpen are now doing special protein Alpen bars, and it caught my eye. And I was thinking, oh, that's quite nice. I'll get a box of them. But I bet there'll be a lot of people out there. They don't really even know really what protein's all about. They see it and they think, oh, that must be great. I'll grab that. You know, it's a marketing tool now as well.
Protein's healthy automatically.
Yeah, it's the same as the whole carbs before carbs thing and stuff like that. So they'll maybe see another person who they want to look like, who has had loads of protein in their diet, and they're going, yeah, it's obviously good. So
it's important to know that. Like, I think
protein is basically for repairing and recovery, but it doesn't actually hold an energy value. You can't use it for energy. You just use it for recovery, whereas carbs and fats are your main energy sources. So like you're saying, there's knowing how much to have is one of the things you need to try and find out, isn't it?
I think it's very important, especially, I make it clear a lot with my clients, especially after strenuous weightlifting sessions. It is really good and sort of important to pack in the protein after that, which will enable you to recover faster. If you recover faster, then you can then train more regularly. You can then your performance improves, your performance increases. Sorry. So I think protein is massively important, especially afterwards.
I say that it's important not to put protein on a pedestal too much, though, because people might cram the protein in, but then forget their basics, like, are they getting enough sleep? You know, like, recovery is like a huge important part, but it's not from protein.
It's all the fundamentals. So it's like you say, are you getting your 8 hours sleep per night? Are you staying hydrated? Are you eating a reasonably well-balanced diet? Again, stress levels come into things. People don't think that, but it can play with your mental health, and that can people don't realise that your stress levels can massively sort of hamper your physical performance level. I'm going away on a bit of a tangent here from protein, but you know what I'm saying.
It's tied to recovery, man, so it makes sense.
That's it. But there's always the research and stuff going on about how much protein is the best for people. And we were just chatting about this earlier. So it can range anything between, what we're saying, 0.7 grams per kilogram of body weight up to 3 kilograms, what you said, Des. So that's a massive window, isn't it? Like, how do you find what number is good for you in that?
Again, that's just like general advice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are like places that people start, and ultimately, you'll need to learn your own body to work out what kind of you need. But I will say that I see two types of people commonly in the gym. The guy who eats way too much protein and just has it like ridiculous amounts when the body is not going to use it anymore. And then the opposite, people who think they're eating a lot of protein, but actually when you actually get them to measure it, they're eating way too little. And we see that a lot in probably the too little spectrum. So I guess it's just get people to learn.
I agree with that. Definitely. I find that way. Most of my clients will probably be the same. Protein's always the one that's struggling to be hit, because everyone just massively underestimates how much they need for it.
I think what I've experienced as well with clients, and this is linking into food, and again, I feel like I keep saying it, but I feel like it's more female clients that I have, is they always seem to think that they're eating more than they actually are, and also they feel like they're burning more calories than they actually are. I always say that when you've got the watches, you know, all that's the equipment now these days that show you how many calories you burned, I think that's always a massive overshoot. And people seem to think they'll come into the gym, they go for a half an hour run on the treadmill or do a quick 10 minutes hit, and they think they've burned all these calories, so then they can eat what they want. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a massive. Yeah, definitely. Like, that's a common problem you get, is that people have this mindset of like, I'm going to. It's like exercise is a punishment for something they've ate.
Yeah.
This many calories, I need to do this now. Like, where it's not. It's kind of the opposite. You want to celebrate the exercise for being exercise and making it stronger.
That's quite an unhealthy way to look at it. You don't want to think to yourself, oh my God, I need to torture myself an hour on the treadmill because I had a Domino's pizza last night.
Aye, you had a bit of bread earlier, you know. I had a bit of bread last night. I'm going to need to burn that off.
I had a bit of bread with luck. I need to burn that off more.
From my point of view, I just think that the best way to teach people is to kind of teach them that food is food, and you should deal with your food situation, like balance out your eating within your eating, and keep exercise separate from that. Like, exercise is its own beast, and I think I like people to use exercise to build strength or build muscle, because that's kind of be beneficial to them and their bodies, particularly building muscle when you're looking at weight loss or fat loss, I should say. If you go to the gym with the intention to build muscle so that you can raise your overall metabolism by having more lean tissue in the future, that's probably a better mindset. Like, I'm here to build and get stronger when I'm in the gym. My diet is what's going to encourage me to lose weight or whatever, for whatever reason. So
it's
if
like
you are...
Sorry, cutting there, but with the muscle, the lean muscle, again, that's something you kind of want protein for, isn't it? It's just kind of sustain that lean muscle, because if you're somebody that is trying to lose body fat, you're in that calorie deficit, is what you call it, to lose.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a bit of lean muscle as well, because you're not getting enough energy. So you kind of need that protein to help preserve that, and that's the whole basis.
And you need carbs too. Same thing.
Yeah.
You're spot on what you were saying there, Deslo. Is I always think we should try and flip the mindset of clients on people coming to the gym. Like, so you don't want them to coming into the gym to say, "Oh, I want to lose fat," or "I want to burn off what I had last night." I want people to be coming into the gym and saying, "I want to get stronger," or they have a specific performance goal in mind. I want to be able to squat 50 kilograms. I want to be able to bench 50 kilograms. I think it's a healthy mindset of having a performance goal or wanting to get stronger. And when you head for that goal, you'll start losing body fat anyway and start shaping in a one. And also what you said is with the diet thing, it's the diet that ultimately really does make or break whether potentially you can get to that goal or not.
At least when it's body shape, yeah. I think like this is one of the things with Motiv8. We've always mentioned that we're a transformation course, but that doesn't necessarily mean transforming the way you look. It can mean transforming your mindset or transforming your ability, your performance ability. And I'd like people to come in with I love it when people come in with the idea that they want to, get better at stuff, and they're not that, like when it comes to losing body fat, they're all aware that it's what you eat, and we give them all the education tools they need to get it right for their bodies, and that's kind of what we can do. Right, okay, so obviously we've touched on protein, we put some protein and carbs. We haven't really touched on fat. I have to admit, like, when I first started as a trainer all those years ago, the fats thing was, like, so big. Like, people were avoiding fat, and all your health food products were, like, low fat or no fat. I'm kind of pleased to see a little bit of education's come in with that, but I still see it as a bit of a problem, particularly with the older generation of clients, this kind of fear of eating fat. And obviously, like, if it's not carbs, it's fats, right? So both these things keep getting swapped around, but you need both of them. I would argue most people need both of them in their diets, particularly fat. Do you get a lot of that, guys? Do you find that people come up to you a bit worried about eating too much fat, or what do you find?
Yeah, I've had a few that I've kind of went, I've not been eating fats because of that reason. It's in the name, isn't it? I'm going to get fat if I eat fats. I can't remember how long ago that came by. It was quite a while ago. You've seen it a lot in the media about fats getting a bad reputation.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly why it started coming about. I think it's got to be down to the high calorie content in it. 9 calories, whereas carbs and protein is 4. And I think there's a big fear that if you have too much of it, you're going to go way over.
It's easy to overeat or whatever.
Yeah.
There's also this kind of period of time where people were afraid of. There's lots of controversy with certain products, certain fat-based products like margarine. So like the more bad press that something gets, the more like negative people have their feelings towards it. And again, there's a little bit of food education required when it comes to fat, like how just vitally important it is for your well-being. Like, I mean, hormonally. And also as an energy source in its own right. I mean, I think you've got to look at it like it's again, none of the 3 macronutrients are unnecessary to me personally. I know that there's an argument for carbs being unnecessary, but in my mindset as a training individual, I kind of prefer to fuel myself that way, and that's a personal preference. But like, fat is still a crucial part, and you should still definitely get a certain degree of it in your diet.
I think as well, it's about talking. We keep harping back to it about education. Of good fats and bad fats. Like if you think like obviously like the saturated fat content in say a Domino's pizza, but you get some real good healthy fats off the top of my head. I'm thinking sort of avocado, and nuts, etc. You get some real good healthy fats in there compared to obviously. I don't even know what the saturated fat content would be on top of a pepperoni Domino's pizza, but it's about yeah, exactly. I've never actually Googled it, but
don't bother. If you want pizza, just enjoy it, right? And saturated fat gets a hell of a lot of bad press.
Massively, it does.
You know what? It's like it is what it is. I think people just need to be able to manage and understand what the good fats are.
It does get bad press, but your body needs it, doesn't it? Your body needs saturates. It needs those
Yeah, to
saturated
some
fats to help, you know, break things down. And
well, the interesting thing is all the studies done since people started to restrict saturated fat, because people tend to turn to sugar as an alternative, and like actually health markers to hypertension and cholesterol and all those things. When people were eating eating fats, as like without thinking about it, like from beef or from other sort of like natural saturated fat sources, actually people were healthier than when they tried to cut them out in terms of like heart disease. So it's interesting. I'm not saying that there's any foregone conclusion on that, because it's kind of one of the ongoing arguments in the fitness industry, whether saturated fat should be in it or not. But we know that poly and monounsaturates are good, so that's what you want to try and hunt for, because we know those are the things that are, like you said, avocados and nuts and other things like that are fish are things you want in your diet. Like omega-3s, you don't need omega-3s in your diet. You know, it's anti-inflammatory, it's good for your joints, and so like I think people need to stop, like, I don't know, like trying to demonize any of the 3 macronutrients, and instead just learn what their body individually needs.
Yeah. Learn what you think you need, and instead of, like you said, demonizing, that's a great word, use it as a tool. And what I wanted to touch on briefly, you know what you mentioned, the fitness industry earlier, is the fitness industry is always moving, you know, never stays still. And no one will ever come to an agreement of, right, carbs do this, fats do this. Everyone, you could pick someone out online or on Instagram and have a full-blown argument of how good or how bad fats are, how good or how bad carbs are. The same for proteins. The fitness industry is always moving, and it's all about opinion. People, you know, it's like it's sort of what am I trying to say? Like, it's whatever sort of cool at the time. You know, it comes and goes,
Brendan.
and that'll never change.
Yeah, I agree. I just think the fitness industry, unfortunately, is subject to a lot of fads. There's always something that's in at the time.
It's the problem with being like a consumer. Like, we're all consumer like generations. We like to buy things. We like to be sold to, and it's quite easy for the fitness industry to just whip something up and go, right, here's the next I don't know, Juice Plus or whatever.
Miracle Cure.
Yeah,
Talking
Miracle
about Juice
Cures.
Plus, talking about smoothies in general, this is a funny thing. I know you personally have like a little bit of a beef with smoothies, MC, as a carb source. Well, I mean,
not a beef, but I think they get bigged up a bit too much. And
I agree.
It's down to, you know, there has been research on them like that says you don't get the same nutrients from liquids, you know, your liquid diets. I think they're good as a supplement. So just to kind of boost the energy levels, they are good for that, because a lot of your smoothies are pretty much sugary drinks, because it's all fruits, isn't it? So it's all sugar, it's all carbs. You know, sugary carbs, your simple ones, and it gets digested a bit quicker, so it's a good energy source for a quick blast. But in terms of having that for like meal replacements and stuff like that, you just don't get the same for that. I don't know what your clients and stuff like that have been into, if they've tried that. What's your experience on it?
Gus,
for me, as in using shakes or smoothies as meal replacements.
Have you ever had any clients that have been big on it?
No, do you know what? Funnily enough, I've not actually, but I have had them ask me, and I sort of agree with what you say, MC. When they do ask, or when people have asked, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Partly because, as well as a lot of my clients, if I speak for myself, are into their weightlifting and heavy weightlifting for their own body type, and so I would like them to be fueled properly instead of missing meals and having a quick shake in the morning. So, and I know, don't get me wrong, it does work for some people, but I'd prefer sticking to a sort of sustainable, solid, normal diet than dodging meals with some random shake. But again, that's just my opinion. It's not. There's no right or wrong. I suppose it's that's my opinion.
I mean, I think liquid diets in general are often just a convenience. So, like, I get protein shakes because sometimes getting to your protein target is tough, and you don't necessarily have the time to cook yourself up a meal. Right? So
and
I
that's building your body, you know, compared to replacements to losing weight. Yeah, I totally agree with protein shakes for building your body, but it's more for I'd have a protein shake and chicken and rice, for example. But I wouldn't want to be having a sort of a meal replacement shake instead of having a normal solid lunch.
Yeah, I get that. I understand what you're saying.
It's
So right as a little
actually.
snack, but not so good as a meal.
Yeah,
It's a good point what we're talking about though, about getting that protein in. A lot of people do struggle with it, and you can maybe come down to like, you know, your vegetarians, your different types of diets, what people like, because where is protein found? It's found in a lot of animal sources, plant-based sources. So it's trying to figure out your diet towards that as well. I've got a few clients that are vegetarians, so it's just again educating them on what contains protein and stuff as well.
And also making sure they understand what a healthy vegetarian is, not a chips and cheese vegetarian. You know what I mean? Like, it's a thing. But like, the thing is, I know quite a few people who are vegetarian, and some of them are in incredible good shape because they know what they're eating, they know how their body deals with it, they know how to, they're in tune with their body basically, so they stay lean, they've got a good muscle mass. And yeah, I also know the other end of the spectrum of people who just, they're vegetarian, but they just eat cake, you know, and eat, you know, it's just like, it's not the same thing. If you eat cake, chips and cheese, you know, you're still going to have the high calories, you're not going to have the balance that your body really needs. So it's always going to be an education, no matter what kind of food choice or food route you want to take. And results are always achievable, I think, no matter what discipline you're in. But, okay, so one thing I also want to touch on before we kind of like wrap things up or anything is, I think during my last video doing this stuff, I kind of touched on people who have too much stress, and like that can be a barrier to their weight loss. Now, I mentioned that you can cut your calories down, and then it's really a point that sometimes nothing changes. Now, it's not to say that that stress itself, that you're in a calorie deficit and you're still not losing weight. The fact is that you're probably not in a calorie deficit. That the stress and the hormones and stuff that's coming in are causing you to have a block, or maybe that you possibly need to have even lower calories than what's necessarily healthy. So my attitude would be to kind of focus on like people clearing up their mental issues they have first before they start engaging with any of this eating stuff, even with the carbs, the proteins and fats and all the controls. If you're not in a situation where you're in a happy enough place, or there's too much going on, or too stressed, you might find that you're not really in a good position to kind of tackle all this stuff. So I think having the food education of what your body normally needs is good, because then you can kind of tell when something's up. So you get the same issue like all the time. Someone dies in their family, or some grief happens, and suddenly their weight loss journey just stops. Because there's some sort of hormonal disruption probably going on in their body, or some other sort of excessive stressor, or even quite frankly that they're no longer able to stay disciplined with their eating anymore. And I think that's why tracking can be a real useful tool, and I think it ties in with all three of the macros and your situation, that having a sort of tracking thing is always going to be a kind of bottom line, so you know where your calories are at. And then if you know if something's disrupting it from your normal progress, so I hope that makes sense. I'm not really sure.
To take two things from that, the key word tracking is, I think more like I touched on it earlier, but people should embrace the tracking instead of being anxious. Like you mentioned it, and some people really don't like the idea of it. And it's amazing. You guys are probably exactly the same. The amount of clients, even Motiv8 guys, that have started the tracking on MyFitnessPal and now absolutely love it. Like they would never not do it now. Compared to at the start, people maybe think, "Oh, I'm not sure about that. Maybe it seems a bit too much." And how much you keep on track of your own life, accountability, and they're still doing it now, even when Motiv8 isn't on. Yeah,
I mean, there's loads of ways to track, of course, and you've got to do whatever suits you. So I've had a few clients that don't like using apps, but that's cool. You can still track with pen and paper. You still track by taking a photograph of your food.
Yeah. You've got that hand portion control and stuff like that as well. So yeah, there's ways around it. But like, what I'm thinking is, what kind of things do you do when you come across people with stress? If you've got clients that you think are stressed, how do you kind of combat it?
I try and sort of I try and be very sort of sympathetic. Like, I try and relate to them in some ways and let them know that they're not alone. You know, it's not just you that's going through this. You know, it's totally normal. Lots of people are in the same boat. Try and not let it overcome you. And when you start to sort of paint the bigger picture to them and say, like, I always say, see if you have a bad day or a bad couple of days, you get a Greg's donut, you get a chippy, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up about it. It happens. That's life. It's about how you then bounce back and reset. And I feel like, I'm sure we've touched on it before, is we're not only personal trainers, but we can. I'm not sure I really like the term counsellors, but you get what I mean. You know, we're more than just a personal trainer, and I always want to try and let them know that I'm always here. You guys are always here, and it's you're not alone. And I think when they sort of come out the other side, they think, oh yeah, it isn't maybe all as bad as what I've got in my own head.
I mean, I think you've nailed some of the things there. I think bottom line is it really depends on the individual and it depends on what they're going through. So like if it's something that they know is going to be temporary, you can kind of encourage and help. But if it's something that's happened that's permanent, like say somebody really close to them dies, like that person's never coming back. There isn't a fix to that. All there is a bit of time to heal, and that's going to be different for every person. And as Gus said, like if you fall off the wagon a bit at that time period, you can't. It's actually worse for you to beat yourself up. You need to just find a way to get yourself back on the wagon as soon as you are individually able to do so, and with and be able to do it consistently. I think a good mental place is vital if you want to get into good shape anyway. So, you got to nurture yourself in whatever way that means. If, however, it's something temporary, like, I don't know, there's loads of things you can say are temporary, can't you? But like, say it's a work-related stress, or they're getting married, or something like that's happening, or they're getting a mortgage. You need to try and help them find ways to overcome that kind of current stress. Try to, encourage them, help them, listen to them, let them vent, whatever it takes to get them on a sort of more positive mindset. And I think that's what it all comes down to, is like being able to have that kind of understanding that this is a bump in the road. It's not a mountain to climb. You just need to get past this little bump, and get yourself back on the track again.
We chatted about this earlier, Des, about it's okay to take a step back. If you are getting stressed out, it's okay to kind of focus on one or two things that you can control, or you can spend a bit more time on, and try not to take on too much. I think it's quite easy to try and do too much when you're stressed.
Yeah.
It can be very, very detrimental to you. I find it stressful working in like an untidy environment. I can't get any work done if my house is a mess. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to tidy it, then I can work, because it just stresses me out. I wouldn't get any work done. So it's the kind of same when you think about fitness terms. If you're stressed, it's kind of like having a messy room. You need to kind of fix that messy room first and then go and train. So
and also
agree with that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think stress is one of those really dangerous slippery slopes that too much of it is bad, too little of it is bad. A little bit of physical stress can drive you. But if you're chronically stressed, then you're going to be in a situation where you're not recovering properly. And yeah, like I said earlier, your metabolism might be affected, and that would have implications on your diet. And there are loads of different things that you just that can snowball with stress. But I know that, like, for instance, I know some people in Motiv8, I'm not going to say names, but they exercise all the time, too much, and they're working mad hours, and the result is actually a backstep. They're not going to be able to sustain that and be healthy. So it's like a matter of like, right, so now you've got to re-educate yourself that less is actually more, and that the consistency game is the winning game.
And I can only... you go, Gus.
I think it goes round in circles a bit, because one of the main tools to tackle stress is exercise. And I use that for myself. I use exercise. We're not perfect. Like, people see me as this guy who's, I'm always on the ball and buzzing about. Like, but obviously there's times I can have my down times. I use exercise as a tool to bring me back up, and I know like it's one of the massive ones. A lot of other people do as well. But
Lost
Oh,
them.
we seem to have some technical failures today.
I just got a phone call there. Sorry. And what I was saying was, so exercise is a massive tool for that. But what you were saying, Des, about it depends how stressed they really are, or you really are, is if it gets to the point where the stress is stopping you from exercising, that's when you can have a big problem.
What do you think, MC?
Yeah, definitely. Like, there are some levels of stress that I think you can deal with it a bit easier, and you might be able to deal with that with exercise. It might take your mind off it. Certain things, it can be good for that. But like we say earlier about recovery, stress and stuff, with recovery and sleep and things like that, sometimes it's a lot more important than exercise. So if you're really stressed and stuff like that, sometimes it's better to look at other things, like the simple things, and try and build on it, ease back into it.
Totally. I mean, I get what Gus is saying. We've all been there, right?
2 minutes left to sum up.
Okay.
This one's
I get what Gus is saying. Firstly, that exercise can be a stress release. We've all had that terrible relationship breakup, and the best thing you ever did was go to the gym, right? But like I say, manage it. I think the last bit of the thing is to tell people is to manage their macros, try and learn a little bit about what each one does, and embrace them all, and then find out what system works for your body individually, because there isn't one rule for everyone. So I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say there.
And to sum that up in a nutshell, mate, is again, hopefully we've touched on a few key points. They've learned, anyone who watches have learned a couple of things, but don't be afraid to come and message us and ask questions as well. If they want to know a bit more about fats, a bit more about carbs, if they've got a specific question, no such thing as a silly question. Like, we're all here if you want to give us a shout.
200%.
Definitely agree. What's your favourite macro?
Protein.
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 Protein. Yeah, protein.
How original are we? PTs that like protein.
I do like a bit of carbs, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, like them all. But right, anyway, guys, I think that's pretty good. As Gus said, fire us questions. We love it, and we'll definitely keep updating these videos of anything you have to ask us. So we'll see you all later, right? Catch you later, guys.
Until next time.
Bye. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys.